Hi, I'm John, your host, and welcome to Heart of Care, a podcast by AMCU. Here, we delve into the real voices of healthcare, sharing stories of resilience, humanity, and the unwavering heart that drives it all. Join us as we empathize, learn, support, and even find moments to laugh together. Thanks for being here. Heart of Care Episode 5. Working for 4, taxed like 2. How Australia punishes families who work. Welcome back to Heart of Care. I'm John from AMCU. Today's episode is for every working parent who's ever asked, why does it feel like no matter how hard we work, we still don't get ahead? This isn't about people who don't work. It's about those who do everything right, study hard, build a career, raise children, and then get punished for it by a tax and welfare system that simply doesn't make sense anymore. Let me introduce you to Angela, a highly trained professional and full-time working mother of 2 young children. She earns $150,000 a year, which sounds impressive until you look closer. Today, we'll unpack how much she actually takes home, why half her salary disappears before she can spend a cent on herself, how Australia's childcare subsidy punishes working families, and what can be done to fix it. Let's get into it. Segment 1. Angela's financial reality. Angela's gross salary is $150,000. But like most of us, she doesn't get to keep all of that. Let's break it down. First, she pays $43,567 in tax and Medicare. That leaves her with $106,433 in take-home pay. And then comes childcare. Angela has 2 young children in full-time daycare, 5 days a week. The center charges $140, $180 per child per day. Let's take the lowest rate. That's $280 a day, or $1,400 a week for both kids. Now, because the combined family income is $300,000, their child care subsidy, CCS, drops to just 46%, applied only to the government's hourly cap of $13.73 per hour. They receive about $63 per child per day in subsidy. Angela still pays $76.84 per child per day, totaling $384 per week per child, $36,880 per year for 2 children. After tax and childcare, Angela is left with just $69,553 to cover everything else. That's less than half her gross salary, gone before she pays for food, housing, or fuel. Segment 2 interview with Angela. Angela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, John.
Let's start with your reaction to those numbers. $150,000 a year, and yet less than $70,000 in your pocket after childcare and tax. How does that feel?
Honestly, it feels like I'm running on a treadmill going nowhere. I worked hard to build a career, but when I see what's left after childcare and tax, I sometimes wonder, is this even worth it?
Do you ever consider stepping back from work?
I do. Not because I want to stop contributing, but because the system almost forces you to. If I worked less, we'd get more subsidy. We'd actually be better off financially with me working part-time, and that's just depressing.
So the message becomes don't try too hard.
Exactly. It's like being punished for showing up. I want to work. I want to contribute. But I'm not asking for luxuries, just fairness.
Segment 3. How the system works, explained simply. Let's pause here and explain this for our listeners. Employees like Angela are on pay-as-you-go tax. That means every dollar is taxed at full marginal rates, with very few deductions. Meanwhile, someone earning the same income through a business or trust structure can split income with family members, deduct work-related expenses like cars, phones, home offices, pay tax on the remaining profit, not the gross amount. Angela doesn't have those options. She earns, gets taxed, pays childcare, and what's left is hers, barely. Segment 4. The welfare cliff. Angela, tell us what happened when you got a raise.
I got a $10,000 raise last year. Great news, right? But after tax and losing part of our childcare subsidy, we only kept about $1,800 of it. That's $34 a week.
$10,000 more work. $1,800 to show for it.
Yep, more hours, more time away from my kids, for basically nothing.
That's what economists call a welfare cliff. When you earn more but end up with less support and barely more income.
It makes you feel trapped.
Segment 5: Families versus Corporations. Let's draw the contrast clearly. Angela's family earns $300,000. They get minimal childcare subsidy and pay full tax. Let's look at how the system works when you're earning through a company, and how different that looks from earning a salary. A company pays a corporate tax rate of 25–30% on its profits. That already sounds decent, lower than the top personal income tax rate. But here's where the system gets clever. The remaining profit doesn't have to be paid all to one person. It can sit in the company or be paid out later as dividends to any adult shareholder. That means a business owner can legally distribute that income across family members or others in lower tax brackets. And when those dividends are paid, they come with franking credits, basically a tax receipt showing that the company already paid tax on that money. If the shareholder is in a lower tax bracket than the corporate rate, they can use the franking credit to reduce their personal tax, or even receive a tax refund. This is called income streaming or dividend splitting. It gives business owners control over timing of income, choice over who receives that income, and the ability to adjust tax impact across financial years. Compare that to a regular wage earner, taxed immediately at their marginal rate. No franking credits, no income splitting, no flexibility. Bottom line, the structure of company ownership allows profits to be taxed more strategically, not based on effort, but on how you structure and distribute your income. And this is perfectly legal. In fact, it's encouraged by the current rules. That's not just unfair, that's broken.
I'm not against business owners. I just want the same chance to breathe.
Segment 6: The False Divide. And here's the heartbreaking thing. When Angela or someone like her speaks up, the first comment on social media often is, "Try living on Centrelink, then complain." That stings, because it says, your struggle doesn't count. We've created a false divide in this country, between welfare recipients and workers, between professionals and everyday people. But the truth is we're all being squeezed by the same broken system. People on Centrelink feel abandoned, and so do full-time working families who are taxed heavily and lose support for trying to do more. We shouldn't be turning on each other. We should be asking, why is the system punishing both? Because the middle isn't cushioned, it's crushed. And let's be clear, Centrelink support absolutely needs to increase for people who are there not by choice. Those who are sick, disabled, caring for others, or simply can't find secure work. But it should never become a long-term replacement for work. The system should lift people up, not lock them in. Everyone deserves dignity, whether they work, can't work, or are trying desperately to re-enter the workforce. Segment 7: What needs to change? Here's what would help. Tax households, not individuals. Let families share the load. Taper off benefits slowly. Don't punish people for earning more. Close trust loopholes. Same income equals same rules.
And value parenting. Raising kids is economic work. We're growing future taxpayers.
Angela, I want to raise something that doesn't get talked about enough. The cost of raising a child. It's not a luxury. It's not optional. It's essential. Every child comes with real, ongoing expenses: food, clothing, education, health care, and childcare. And yet, our tax system treats kids like an afterthought. If anything, there should be a tax-free income threshold tied to each child. Because raising children is economic work, it should offset their parent income tax. It's an investment in the future workforce, the future taxpayers, the future carers and contributors of this country.
Exactly. It's not like I'm buying designer handbags. This is childcare, nappies, school lunches. It's survival. And yet, I get no recognition for that in the tax system.
And here's the deeper problem. When you raise a child, you're doing something that benefits all of society. But instead of support, many families are taxed more and subsidized less the harder they try. If we really valued families, we'd build that into the system. we'd say, for every child you raise, you get a fair go through real tax relief. Because right now, it's not a reward, it's a penalty. And that needs to change. Segment 8, the breaking point. Sometimes, it's not the workload that breaks you. It's a comment, a headline, a throwaway line online that says, $150,000 and you're crying? Try being poor. What that line erases is the education debt, the sacrifices, the late nights, the missed milestones, and the mental stress of doing the right thing and still feeling behind. It makes people wonder, why did I even try? Why did I go into this profession? Let's pause for a moment. Angela's story, losing almost half her salary to tax and childcare, feels unfair. But it's not just about her. It's a symptom of something bigger. Australia's entire government revenue system is built on the backs of working people. In fact, Australia is one of the most income tax dependent countries in the developed world. While most countries share the tax load between personal income, company profits, consumption taxes, and social contributions, we do not. Here's how we compare. Australia, almost 50% of all tax revenue comes from personal income tax. United Kingdom, about 25-30%. Germany, around 25%, with strong social insurance systems. France, just 18%, because they rely more on VAT and corporate taxes. OECD average about 24%. So when Angela works harder, earns more, or returns to full-time work, she gets hit with higher tax, while also losing access to family support and rebates. It's a double hit, and she's not alone. Whether you're a teacher, nurse, engineer, or small business owner, you're paying more into the system than most people like you in other countries. And it gets worse. We have no state income taxes, so everything's federal. No wealth tax, even for multimillion-dollar portfolios. A GST of just 10%, among the lowest in the OECD. And corporate loopholes that let big business avoid billions in tax legally. So where does the government get its money? From you. From families like Angela's. From work, not wealth. This isn't just inefficient, it's unjust. We need to start asking, why are working Australians punished for doing everything right? Why does our system reward passive wealth more than active contribution? Until we answer those questions, Angela's story will keep repeating in every suburb across the country. If this made you pause, share it. Use the hashtag #LunchboxTaxRevolt. Message your MPs. I'm John. This is Heart of Care. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode from AMCU Media, where real stories, healthcare, and advocacy come together. We release a new episode on the 28th of every month. We're a small, independent team doing our best to bring you meaningful conversations. And your support means the world to us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Just search for AMCU Media. Got a story or topic to share? Email us at amcu@strmedical.com.au. Together, we can do better. For care, for community, and for change. Until next time, thank you. And take care.